we're in we're back in the era of 18 years of age to 21 years of age, and we want to deal with this issue of where did you meet Mary?
I told you how that, yeah.
Yeah, so we're just going to go over that again because the thing broke down. So just go back to that and tell that story as best you can. Where did you meet Mary? 18 to 21, because that's unclear at the minute. So was this a dance that...
St Brennan's Parish Hall every Sunday night.
Right, okay. So there's a dance every Sunday night.
Yeah.
And how old do you think you are at that point?
I suppose I was 18.
18, okay.
Yeah.
So what was the starting point there? You saw her, or you knew her, or you were introduced to her?
I didn't have a clue. I think I told you, didn't take a note about it. I bet a bloke, when we went to dance at St Brendan's,
Yeah.
very few went escorted,
Right.
right, in those days. And all the girls would come for various groups, like Mary and a heap of them come from St Columba's. There was either just finished school or that. There was a group of them which were trainee nurses over at the Sacred Heart Hospital. And that was them, so they'd come, and wherever else, the others, a group of them, they got there like in those days. And they sat all along one side of the hall, and all the rooty-tooty idiots like us would come in, and we're this side of the hall. And then you'd go over and ask someone for a dance.
Right.
That's how it worked in those days.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. So what happened? Did you go and ask Mary for a dance? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But you could
Before that, I said to John Eddie, I bet you I can have a dance with that Sheila over there.
Right.
and I said, and I'll take her home. Which is, that was a bit ambitious.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly what happened. I got over, caught myself at having a dance with her, and I took her home. I'm taking her home was getting on the tram, walking down the street with her to her house. Hello, lovely night. See you later. See you next Sunday.
Right.
That was it.
That was it.
But we had a bet. I think I told you that one too. He bet me a pot I couldn't do it. So John Eddie being a very straight man, you wouldn't believe it. The next day, we're both working. Yeah, after work.
Yeah.
I met him at the Laurel and he bought me a pot. Yeah. Pot in those days is big value.
A big deal. So what happens after that? So you get the first one, and so then you go to the, I'm thinking you would obviously go to the dance the next week.
We went every week.
Went every week.
Yeah.
And so eventually you got to know each other better, I guess. Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it didn't take long for that. Yeah.
Yeah. What about, there's a recollection in my memory of where, I don't know, is there somehow... she takes you home to get introduced to people down at where was she living? What's the name of the street? That whole area?
What, where we live?
No, where she lived. You were taking her home.
She lived in what's that street?
Hilda
Street. Yeah, Hilda Street. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any recollection of that where you took her home and you had to wait and she was going to introduce you to people, or how did that whole...
No, I can't remember anything about that bit. I know that Auntie Rosie, which is her de facto mother, because her mother died when she was 3.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. She had a good future until her mother died, and she gave up her job to look after the kids.
Auntie Rosie. Yeah.
So,
do you have any recollection of meeting Rosie, Lenny?
I really don't.
Francis.
Lenny was a little kid running around somewhere, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, Auntie Rosie, Auntie Mary,
What about her dad?
Uncle,
What about her dad? Was he there then?
Uncle Jack arrived on the scene later. Auntie Rosie, Auntie Mary, Uncle Frank, and the other brother who served in New Guinea, Uncle, yeah. So they're all terrific people, yeah.
Was her dad there? Was he around at the time?
Oh, that's a good question, actually, I can't recall.
Do you remember what he did? What was he?
Well, yeah, he used to sand floors,
So when Mum came for tea the first time,
and you wouldn't know.
oh no, you tell the story,
Yeah.
Dad, you tell the story.
And she comes down for the first time, I bring her down to meet the family.
Poor Finch, poor Finch.
And the house is about the same distance from the road as here. It was a tiled thing. So I don't know where they got the bag, but he had the kids put out a red carpet for her. And all it consisted of was wheat bags. And she's going, well, firstly, she's never come across things like this, so you can imagine what she's doing. And we're all sitting around the table. And here's Mary standing up. Oh, gee, we didn't get a chair for Mary. So they went out and got a banner box. And we had an old toilet seat. Put that on the banner box. Can you imagine the introduction?
No, I wouldn't be happy.
Eh?
I wouldn't be happy.
So she doesn't know what's happening. So anyhow, she sits down. And then, so she, well, had a meal and all that and stayed for a while and met Mum, Dad, back, anyhow, took her up. I'm never going back to your place again. Well, yeah, needless to say, about a month later, I proposed to her something. And I had her father and Auntie Rose who brought her up, come down for tea. We were a bit more decorum.
So her dad comes down.
Yeah.
Right. Now, where's he living? What's your recollection? Is he living, because Lenny tells me he's in Castlemaine.
Yeah, he was in Castlemaine. He was up down at
Murbu North.
North Murbu.
Yeah.
Oh, no, bastard. Yeah. But yeah, finish the story.
So he comes to tea and Auntie Rosie comes to tea.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, okay.
So they just said, oh, yeah, that's lovely, lovely family. Because we've all had the riot act.
Is that right?
So
who's read, is it your dad or your dad and your mum have both read the Riot Act? Or?
yeah, well, I just said, enough. Right. Fun's fun, but that's enough. Especially with their family coming.
So everyone was on their best behaviour.
Yeah, unbelievable. So after that, of course, well, she fitted in with everyone perfectly, to be honest with you. And of course, when we got married, well, she was Mum's number one girl. Oh,
of course, because she's the first one.
Yeah.
First cap off the rank.
Yeah. And then she had the two kids. Two girls. Oh, and
first two grandchildren that lived, yeah.
But round there, where we were, then opposite the pub and that, they were the only two kids in existence.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, did they have the best? Like, be walking down the street, kids want to stop, and we had one bloke always stopped them and gave them a lolly. And this is only when they were about 2.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're running the show.
Yeah, that would have been a very special time, wouldn't it?
Oh,
because you were the first one, the first one married, the first grandchildren, the whole
Yep.
shebang. And what's your recollection of this is going good. So what's the recollection of, say, Pop, Leo, and the first two grandkids?
Mate.
Oh, Colleen.
They could have committed murder and he wouldn't have believed it.
Rubbish. Colleen was his golden girl. Me and Claire, because we were, well...
Well, now you're bringing the third one.
No, so there's me, the first three girls, right? There's Colleen, me and Claire, right? Second child syndrome, Janine. Forget it. She's the first grandchild. Colleen got, and she loved the attention. Really liked Chloe. Imagine Chloe back in those days. Just give me some attention and I will sparkle away and you'll be fine. And that was Colleen. And then me and Claire came along and, oh, well, you've been there and done that. But then the boy came.
Michael. Amar.
Yeah, you would think he would be...
First boy.
You think he would be so excited. No, he wasn't a Gleason, he was an Amar. So guess who the first Gleason boy is?
Not Peter.
Peter.
You've trumped them both times.
I think, I could be wrong on that unless Lee James out trumps Peter, but I reckon it's Peter is the first Gleason boy in the family. He had all these girls and all the others.
Interesting.
Duggins and everyone else,
Yeah.
but he was the first Gleason boy. So we've got the first Gleason girl, the first Gleason boy.
We used to get
And the first great grandchild. First great grandchild.
when I was growing up, like about 8 or something, we had the hairdressing salon, as I say, and they had those chairs. I don't know if they still have them.
The barber chairs.
And we used to get in there and swing around on the chairs and everything. The old man come in, he'd nearly kill us.
Yeah.
Except Colin.
When the two kids arrived,
Grandchildren.
they walked in. You want to ride in the chair? Oh, I'd nearly kill him. Yeah,
New rules.
new rules.
New rules for the grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's when we lived behind the bootmakers, which was behind the pub.
That was hard work. He done it all by hand.
When you say help you do the unit, you're talking about what's the unit? Is that your dad's barber shop?
Yeah, but the stuff behind it, yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I just had a flooring board floor and lino over it.
Do you remember his name? Now, her mum's name was Sadie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
his
name
name
was
was
Leonard Ashford.
What was
Leonard Edwin Ashford.
Lennon Edwin Ashford.
And Lenny's named after him, and him and Lenny didn't get on. And Lenny was his second son, so I don't know how that happened.
So, in those times, when you decided to get married, did you go and ask him? Is that how it worked? Did you go and ask him, could you marry Mary, or remember that at all?
Oh, but yeah, well, I don't know what I asked. Yeah, I asked him just went through the but more interested in asking Auntie Rosie because she was the one that brought her up.
She was the family matriarch.
Yeah, well,
in a sense.
he was and she wasn't, you know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
she never.
Mary was, really.
Auntie Mary?
Auntie Mary.
So can I just say that Auntie Mary is Auntie Rose's sister?
Yeah,
And Auntie
elder
Rosie,
sister.
Auntie Mary, when the kids moved in to live with the Brophies, right?
Yeah.
Because Auntie Rosie had a job,
Yeah.
and Auntie Mary had a job. Auntie Rosie was a chiropodist.
Yeah.
I don't know what Auntie Mary did. Anyhow, they worked out that Rose would stay home,
Yeah.
so she quit her job, and she stayed home and looked after the kids. So she was a full-time surrogate mother.
So she's a professional lady and she doesn't do
Auntie
that.
Mary worked for the government.
And Mary worked for the government. So Mary brought in the money,
Right.
Auntie Rosie
and
was
Auntie
the
Rosie
nurse.
brought up the kids.
Wow.
And Jimmy,
Yeah.
Uncle Jim,
Yeah.
he had his fruit shop.
Yeah.
And the other person...
He's a brother.
He's the brother, and the other person that lived there was Frank,
Yeah, he's a brother.
and he worked in the railways.
Yeah,
And the other person that lived there was Uncle Jack,
yeah,
and he was a postie,
and he's a brother.
and he's a brother,
Right.
and he's a postie.
And so they're all like uncles. They're the uncles
Yeah.
to Mary, Francis,
and Uncle
Leonard,
Jack, I don't know how
Jimmy.
Uncle Jack, I don't know how he fits in, but sometime
He came to live in this
but no one knew.
house out the back,
Yeah, but no one knew that Jack was.
and he had
Jack-
about 3 kids.
Yeah, Jack sort of wasn't involved with the family until he came to live out the back.
He arrived out of the blue.
Yeah, no one even sort of knew he was alive. And he had 3 kids, and he'd broken up with his wife, and he lived in this, like you would say, a shed out the back. Frank had a shed, Jack had a shed. Jimmy lived inside.
Yeah.
And Frank and
Jack was a postman.
Yeah. Frank worked on the railways, and Jack was a postie.
So, do you have any recollection of what was the process in getting Mary's hand in marriage? Any recollection of that at all? Did you ask Auntie Rosie? What did you do? Any
Oh,
recollection?
I probably asked the old man first.
Right.
Followed procedure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Because he lived in the house next door. to me.
Ah, right.
Right.
Okay.
So, the house next door was, I think the Brophy's aren't that for sure. Then there was the original Brophy house. Then there was the Fraser house,
Yeah.
which was, the wife was a Brophy. Then there was the Nelson house, which the wife was a Brophy.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah.
So, John, we're basically, you've got married now. You're now married to Mary. It's 1958. You're 22 years of age, thereabouts. And so, where are you living? You know, try to take us on a bit of a journey. You're married. You're 22. It's 1958. I really don't even know where you're living.
Well,
I don't know where you're working. This sort of thing.
I lived in where everyone lived through the war, in the flat that we had. Dad had.
Ah.
Yeah.
Is that at the barber shop?
Yeah.
At the back of the barber shop?
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that. So you're living, basically you're living at the back of the barber shop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got married, and that's your first spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you paying him rent?
Yeah, I paid. I think I paid about £6 or something. Yeah.
Right, £6 a month.
That's another funny story. Yeah.
What's that story then?
Well, when we went on our honeymoon to Sydney, I was down to the uppers at nothing. Really did that nothing. Now we flew up to Sydney, stayed at Manly, and couldn't afford to fly back.
Is that right? Jeez.
Yeah, no way. But had just enough to buy a train ticket on the Spirit of Progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, I got to Albury, and at Albury in those days you had to change trains. And all I had was enough to buy Mary a pie. I don't kid you. That's all I had. So I bought her a pie, I had nothing. And then I said, oh, what's going to bloody happen when I get to Melbourne? Paid for a train fare, that's all I could do, see. So I get to Melbourne, and anyhow, oh mate, you wouldn't believe this stuff. It's like fairy story stuff. Anyhow, I get there, and here's Mary's brother Jimmy waiting to pick us up. Oh, I did not have a dollar, not a dollar, I didn't have 10 cents on me.
Yeah.
Oh, shocking. Yeah. So, it's all funny stories when it's all over. At the time it wasn't. Jimmy drives us home to the flat. We go to the flat, and Dad had put in a kitchen setting and all that. The whole table was covered in pennies and halfpennies.
Really?
Look after the pennies and the money will look after itself. I grabbed it all, went straight out of the bank and got it turned into about five quid, I think. Oh, mate.
So who put that there?
That,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, mate.
So that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
Jeez.
I reckon you're making those stories up, but that's what happened, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we survived.
And so you're back now from your honeymoon, and you're staying in the flat. And
Yeah,
so
well,
where were you work? What were you doing? Where were you working?
I was working for the government,
Right.
the Housing Commission.
Housing Commission. Okay. And what did you do there? What was your job? What did you have to do?
Well, I was in the accounting department and all that. I was doing all the costings, things like that. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Did you like it?
Well, what happened? I originally started with a cooperative housing society, Collins and O'Connor, and I think I was getting. Let's just leave it school, but I was 18, but I mean, you didn't get much money in those days when you're 18. And I was studying the accountants, you know. And anyhow, I was getting £5 a week. And so I stayed there for 2 years, so I was still on £5 a week. And I reckon I was doing a ripper job. I was too.
Yeah.
Even if I wrapped myself up. So I seen the head honcho Collins, who owned the joint. I said, mate, I'm married. I think I've done a good job. I want to rise. Oh no, you haven't. I didn't have to be a dickhead to know that I was doing a real good job. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, but someone said, well, go to the public service, you've got your accountants in there, and get into the Housing Commission. Whack, and you know, you made for life, right, yeah, righto. So I went there and got the job. So that was all right for a while. But they gave me a job. I had the Mason Housing Estate, which is, you know, Ballarat Road and all that. Well, that was just wasteland. Anyhow, I got the job to revalue the land, check out the costs, and you name it. So again, and you start with, you go from D up to A, you know, with promotions. So, I think they're still on my rate today, the bloody public servant. So I'm a hot goer. I want to get up the ladder. I want some money. You know. And so anyhow, and it was quite interesting doing this job, but it took me about about 15 months to do it. And every Thursday night, you had to work back 2 hours to get extra dollars. It was a bullshit. They're still going on. You know, it was not necessary to get extra dollars. And anyhow, I put the whole thing together in 18 months. I was in the shit. You know, and I passed everything. Man, you got no idea what I had to do. You know, not evaluations, check titles. It was quite educating as well, but yeah. I was a bad boy. I was working flat out, trying to get a promotion.
Yeah.
One bloke that was there, he used to go to lunch, and he'd come back about 2 hours after lunch because he was training dogs, and he was walking his dogs for racing. You know, that was the bullshit that was going on. It was unbelievable. You know, anyway, what was his name? I should remember his name. I would. But he said, you don't have to keep working like that. Slow down. I'm sitting there. What am I doing? I'm filling papers, reading papers. What am I doing?
Doing the job.
Yeah. That was a no-no.
Okay, the kids. So, you get married, and pretty early you start to have kids. You're married in 1958, and then in 1959, if my recollection is right, John comes along, but he doesn't survive. Right? So, how did you deal with that in those days? I got no idea. What happens?
Well, I don't know how we dealt with it, to be honest with you. I can't remember. I mean, other than, probably my mother was the best that she looked after Mary. God knows what, you know. Yeah.
So you remember there was Johanna, your mum is, I don't know, helping Mary or talking to Mary.
The old man, because the old man was in love with her by that stage. I reckon she used to take him in a cup of tea and something and a scone for morning tea and that. Oh no, she was the greatest thing since boiled lollies. Yeah, oh no, she was the big cheese then.
Because she was the only one on the scene at that time.
Yeah,
you were the first one married.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so then Colleen comes along. It's about 1961, a couple of years later. And so it's the first. And so there would have. Do you have any recollection of? Well, here we go again. We're pregnant again. Then Colleen finally is born, 1961. That would have been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That would have been a big.
Heavy. Yeah.
So, any recollections of that at all?
Nah.
John, between Leo, Johanna, first grandchild. Janine's not even on the scene. She's the number one.
Well, other than Mary became the senior queen of the whole joint. That was about it. Yeah.
When did Michael Amar came along, Janine?
Mine was after Claire.
Okay, so it's after you.
Yeah, so there's Colleen,
Yeah, right.
Colleen, me, Claire, Michael.
Yeah, so then what happens is Janine comes along 1 year later, 1962.
Yeah.
So you're leading the pack.
Yeah.
You got two. Now there's these two little kids who could do no wrong.
Oh, well, there's only 2 kids in the whole shopping centre. They ran the show.
Right.
Mary walked down the street with them in the pram and everyone stopped and that was the way it normally happened out then. But there's only 2 kids in the shopping centre, it was all middle-aged people and all that. Well, that was it, you know.
So they were the pride and joy of the...
And the big thing, of course, was they're Mr. Gleeson's grandchildren.
which carried a bit of weight.
Yeah.
And so 3 years later, Rosemary doesn't survive. Yeah. Any recollections of that?
And Rosemary,
That time, 65.
well, I can remember the night that she was born, I was over there at the hospital. It was a disastrous night that night. In those days you couldn't go into the delivery room. It's not that I really wanted to, but I sat outside and it's about 11 or 12 o'clock at night. You think like that, yeah. And yeah, the nurse dies. Might be a bit of a joke now. The nurse dives out of the delivery room and says, "Come with me, quick, quick, quick!" Oh shit, what's happened? And yeah, I had to go, so I just raced down with her down the corridor. We had to go in to collect some stuff. Anyhow, I come back, sit down again and nothing happens. And baby, the baby's delivered. Right, no problems. And Jim Sullivan come out and said, "Oh, thank God," he said, "all the drama I had with the previous kids, the 3. This was the easiest birth I ever had. Baby is perfect."
Oh, gosh.
So I go and see the baby in the crib. Hour later, panic stations.
1 hour later.
The baby died. So that was a big,
And what happened?
I suppose in those days they didn't have the equipment they got today. They would have probably kept the baby alive, you know. But he said
So it was a shock.
no,
It was a shock.
more than a shock.
More than a shock.
So anyhow, after all over, and I said to the nurse, "Why did you scream out to me to go down here with you?" She said, "I'm afraid of the dark and I wanted someone to go with me."
Wow. Wow.
I'll never forget that, yeah.
So that was a tough time. 1 year later, Peter's born. It's 1966. It's the first son. A
Yeah,
boy.
well, he was a disaster. He was another disaster, yeah.
What happened there? I don't know. What's the story?
Oh, I can't remember now. He ended up in the human crib for about 6 weeks.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I mean, nothing like having simple babies now, John. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
6 weeks prem.
6 weeks premature, she's yelling out. Janine's saying 6 weeks premature.
She was 6 weeks. Peter was 6 weeks prem. He weighed
Can't remember.
2.5. No, was it 2.5 pounds, something like that? 2.5 pound. And he was in hospital for 3 months.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Mum used to have to go in twice a day to feed him.
Wow.
There you go. That's my synopsis of Peter.
No, we never had easy ones.
Well then, 8 years later, 8 years.
Yeah, like
Nigel.
yeah, caught her with her pants down. Yeah.
Nigel comes along. 1974.
He was conceived the night after the Moonee Valley races, and Mum had had a win. She'd been drinking champagne all day, and he took advantage of her.
Right.
And she wasn't on the pill or anything in those days. She was because, you couldn't take the pill because of the church.
Right.
And she tried all these other things like the rhythm method, and I mean she was hopeless at that. She used to just get stickers and stick them on the chart so she'd have something that she'd have no idea. And so he was a day at the races.
A day at the races. Nigel, a day at the races. Do you remember his birth at all? Do you remember Nigel's birth at all? Vaguely?
Actually, to be honest with you, I don't know why. Wasn't the drama the other side.
There was no drama with Nigel, and Dad just rang Michael and Jackie
Yeah.
because they'd already worked out that Michael was going to be the godfather.
Right.
And Michael turned up at Moonon Crescent with one of those German Stein things, the lid on a beer, and he wouldn't let Mum get out of the house until she had his beer, and he said, "Oh, we need a boy."